On today's show, I am joined by fan favorite Tyler Jones to take stock of the Hawks after 1/3 of the season and the NBA Cup run that they just went on. This is part 1 of 2, and it's coming to you right now.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1868 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Tuesday here in mid-December. And today's podcast is brought to you by College Football Playoff. College Football Playoff is here. You don't want to miss a moment of the action. The playoff, College Football Playoff, is presented by Allstate, and it begins with 4 first-round games, December 20th and 21st on ESPN, ABC, TNT, and Max. I also want to encourage you at the top of the show, as I always do on the podcast, make it your first listen each and every day here at Locked On Hawks. Check us out and subscribe to the podcast anywhere you find your podcast. That includes audio places. Plus, please like the video on YouTube and tell your friends about the podcast. And today's show will be part 1 of 2 with myself and fan favorite Tyler Jones. It's been busy with the Hawks. I'm still in Las Vegas right now, post NBA Cup run, covering the rest of the Cup around the league. But Tyler and I caught up on Monday evening into Tuesday to discuss all kinds of Hawks stuff because they're a third of the way through the season. The Cup was very interesting, et cetera, et cetera. It's been a while since Tyler's been on. Always fun to talk to him. So please stay tuned for part 2. When part 1 is over, it should be available in this same podcast feed right here. And without any further delay, here we go with part 1, myself and Tyler Jones. I am joined now by fan favorite, friend of the program, one of the co-hosts of ATL 129. Tyler Jones is here. Hello, sir. How are you?
Brad, how you feeling? I know you're in Vegas right now.
I have to
ask. What is your confidence level in Kirk Cousins going against the Raiders tonight?
Okay, so this is funny. This is going to go up after the game is over. So I'm going to.
I don't care about that. I need your feelings. I don't care about reality. I need your feelings, Brad.
I think they're going to win, but it has less to do with the Falcons and more to do with the Raiders. The Raiders are bad. Old friend Desmond Ridder at the helm for the Raiders tonight as well. Scary spot. My Atlanta
revenge game. Revenge game.
It's going to be bad if they lose. But yeah, we're recording this before that game's happening. So my feelings are not good. The Falcons have been brutal for a while. We won't do too much on that.
Defense has been good though. What's going on?
It's been frisky. My guy Jesse Bates flying around back there, and yeah,
they get pass rush. Pass rush is back. First time.
Pass rush is alive. I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all. But it's happened the last couple of games. So anyway, we're off the rails. But yes, I am still in Vegas. I was coming to Vegas either way, but I have to stay till the rest of the Atlanta crew, Lauren, Jamila, everybody else went home. I am still here because I have to cover the final on Tuesday. But in the meantime, the Hawks didn't get there. Let's just start here. What did you make of the run to the NBA Cup? Because my takeaway after the game was relatively positive. They didn't play great in the semifinal offensively, other than Trae. But like for me, it's like take a half step back and like, hey, this is not a team that was supposed to be making the Final Four of the NBA Cup when it was starting. And they've been playing really good basketball recently, which is kind of my feeling. But I wonder if you disagree, if you have more vitriol. I saw some negativity. And I was like, guys, I know they lost the game, but like they didn't blown out. They were in the game the whole way. It was like kind of hard for me to get worked up about it personally.
Yeah, they needed to beat the Bulls. If we're talking about the run up to the Cup, they need to beat the Bulls so that they play the Magic, a beaten up Magic team in the first round, and then the Knicks beat the Bucks. Then the Hawks have the better matchup against the Knicks and beat the Knicks and go to the Cup Finals. That's where they messed up because, I'll say this: I thought they played well enough to win against the Bucks, but they weren't. It was a coin flip game, and the Bucks were. I thought even with that, I thought the Bucks were slightly better. And ultimately, like there's a lot of things that went into how the game went out, but I just think the bigger picture is that the Bucks were able to run the Bucks offense functioned when Giannis went to the bench. And the Hawks offense, I know they were only -4, but the Hawks offense was like a disaster when Trae was on the bench. And so you had a situation where Giannis and Dame played 38 minutes or less, and Trae had to play 40. And I think 40 high intent has to be the focal point of the offense to get anything going on the offensive side of the floor in the half court. I just think people were bemoaning Trae's decision making. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think Trae was doing what he could, but like he didn't have the juice. Like he did not have the legs to close it out. They really needed Jalen in that first half to be as good as he was in the second. Like they really needed Jalen and Dyson to be a lot better than what they were in that first half, because that was really the difference in the game, where it was like Trae goes to the bench and we can't get a shot up, or it could also help if Bogey. I expect more from Bogdanović, and like I just thought he's got to stop with these pump fake drives to nowhere. Like he did that a couple, like, you know, AJ Green closing out hard to him. Like, bro, like, can you just shoot over the top of AJ Green? Like, what are we doing? You know, we got him beat. We got to open contested 3-pointer with you. Like we're not going to get a better shot than that in this entire possession. Like he's got to start. Like he only took 3 threes on the game. I'm like, that's just not going to like, if we want to drill down what happened, Bogey he was good overall, but I felt like just that stretch in particular, he needed to play better. But yeah, like overall, like the bigger issues that the Hawks, you know, the Bucks got 2 superstars, the Hawks got 1. Like that's, you know, and until Jalen shows real maturity running an offense in the half court, the Hawks are just going to struggle when Trae's on the bench to score points.
Yeah, and that was a big factor, and especially that first half stint without Trae, I think it was like, I charted it too. It was like 6 straight possessions, and they didn't get one good shot, and it was like, and look, it's a small sample size, but also it's indicative of what they do when Trae's on the bench. And I agree with you. Like I thought he was gassed at the end. I don't know if he would say that, but I think he probably was. And I also saw you say this on social media. I think I said it too on the show. He only took 1 bad shot at the end. I didn't love the shot against Giannis. That was not a good shot. But the 3 was like a good look, and you're down by 5. Like you got to shoot that.
Yeah, it was down 5 with like less than a minute to go. Like we're out of possessions. He got to get the shot up. Yeah. There's no
I mean, he missed it, but I think he even said it from the podium. I can't remember who asked him, but he was like, "It's a good look." I mean, the first one, he didn't say this, but yeah, he's got to take that shot. So, and you're an underdog there, and people always miss the math on this. Like if you're down 5. Yeah, you could get a stop, but like you gotta get a 3 at some point, probably, or you're not gonna come back.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
If your best player is taking a good look. Yeah. So anyway, without getting that's too far in the weeds, but you're right. I think Bogey was not aggressive enough. Like I thought he played fine, but he was not super aggressive hunting his shot. And they just need him. So I mean, Jalen was much better in the second half, as you said. In the first half, he was pretty rough. Hunter had his worst inside the arc shooting game of the season. I think he was 2 of 10 on 2s. Like I thought just that they normally make too. Like
I thought Hunter got a tough whistle too as well. Like,
he did.
You know, it's Hunter and Jalen, a couple drives into Giannis. They just were not
calling anything on Giannis.
They were not going to call a foul on Giannis last night.
And the whole game, even I know Hawks fans are frustrated, and I get it. I didn't love the officiating either. What I would say, I think Glenn said this too, our mutual friend. The game was just called very loosely in general, and that tended to favor the Bucks because you got Giannis, who's, you know, they're bigger, and also just Giannis being Giannis. Like the way if he's not getting called for stuff, like you're going to be in. You know, the Hawks Trae got to the line 17 times. Like the Hawks got some calls along the way, but
I mean, they got to the free throw line. They should have got to it more. AJ Green,
the way they called the game, I thought favored the Bucks, but I'm not saying that because they gave the Bucks calls. It was more the style of play for me. It was like Bucks.
And it's not why they lost. Like they just ultimately didn't make enough shots. Like jump shooting just was not there the entire game, and they, you know,
even the floater range shots, like
I thought they fought, you know, the entire game, and like if they could have gotten Trae 2 more minutes into that fourth quarter, I think they might have been able to. Like if they could have hold Trae back for 2 more minutes to start that fourth quarter, they might have had a chance. But it was like Quinn had to get Trae into the game early. I'm like, you know, and Trae did his best. Like Trae does what he does. He kept them in the game until like he didn't have the juice to drive into the lane. Like, you know, he played. It was a very high intense, exhausting game.
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get in the action and the NFL, NBA, and much more this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, if you're a new customer, bet $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. At FanDuel Sportsbook, the app is really easy to use. It gives you everything they actually need to place your bets all in one place. And they're looking for sports betting space from over-unders to point spreads, money lines, player props and game props, they future bets, same-game parlays, live betting, and so much more. The app of FanDuel is also safe and secure. They cover the entire range of sports as well. That includes the NBA, which we talk about all the time on this podcast, plus the NFL, college football, baseball stuff, WNBA, hockey, golf, tennis, soccer, which means, domestic stuff and international, plus auto racing, F1, NASCAR, etc., boxing, MMA, and so much more. And now is an awesome time to sign up with the folks at FanDuel Sportsbook. The place to go is FanDuel.com to get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win that first $5 bet at FanDuel. That's one more time, FanDuel.com, $150 bonus bets when you win that first $5 bet at FanDuel. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
I think it was good for the Hawks overall just to see playing these last two games really against the Knicks as well, like this type of environment where it's going to be super physical and like it's a lot of pressure. I felt the pressure to make shots off of like Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, Zachary Reese-Shea in particular, where there's more pressure on them when they're open to make the shot, where it's not like a typical regular season game where like if you miss it, whatever, I could just let it fly. Like with real pressure on you, like Dyson, I didn't feel like I got any lift on any of his jump shots the last two games at all. And Jalen was better against the Knicks, but the Knicks were just a good matchup for him. When he had to go up against like-sized players, where it's like he can't just physically go through Giannis, he has to make shots. You see how his jumper is a little shaky, and that's really a weakness of this Hawks team at the moment, where they're switchy long two-way guys don't have the jumper that DeAndre Hunter and Bogdan Bogdanovic do right now, which they might never have it, but like that is the difference. Whereas, the Bucks setting Giannis aside, you got Dame, you got Chris Middleton, you got AJ Green, you got Taurean Prince, you got Brook Lopez, even, Bobby Portis. All these guys who are comfortable taking shots, who have been taking high leverage jump shots in pressurized moments for the last 5 or so years. And this was like really these last two games was the first time Jalen, Zachary, and Dyson took these level of shots. It's just different where it's like there's real pressure on you. Miss this shot, from an open look, that could be the basketball game. And like, I think the difference, there was a lot of things, but like Jalen missing the open corner three while Andre Jackson made his, and Jackson's able to make his because the Bucks are up and the pressure is off of them to score. Whereas the Hawks got to get a shot up. They got to make a shot. Jalen, open corner three, he just misses it. It happens. But like, it's a good reality check. Plus, like, this is kind of how playoff basketball is going to go. Like, so it was good for them overall in their development, but it just sucks that they lost.
Yeah, I mean, we could have to go through the game even more, but that was, you could argue, and I think I said it on the show after the game, like, that was the game right there. Jalen misses a wide open three. Andre Jackson makes one on the other end. Like, it's a make or miss league, and it's a trope, but it's also true. Like, you get in a close game, like, who makes the big shot, and the Hawks got a better player, missed a good look. And it's going to happen. Like, it's not a shot at Jalen, it's just he missed it.
Yeah.
And Jackson makes his, and that's the game. 6-point swing, and you lose by 8, and that's the game. Yeah. I was going to ask you, like, you kind of got into it there, but like for kind of takeaways from this run, because it was the NBA Cup. It was kind of spread out a little bit. The first game was the Boston game a month plus ago, so it wasn't like they played all these games in a row. But Quinn talked about it, Trae talked about it, Jalen did. I think all the guys that did press, Bogey in Vegas, like they said all the right things, but about it being a learning experience. You get into, I think it's a great point. Like a lot of these guys, Jalen included, like yes, Jalen's played in the playoffs or play-in, but not quite. When they were actually in a real series, he was a bench guy. He has not been in this role as like clear number 2 guy in a big game like this.
Jalen against the Celtics when they played, the last real playoff series, like he was the energy guy off the bench. He was basically in Reese Shea's role.
He was the ninth guy. Yeah, I mean he was coming in, and Quinn that was Quinn, and Quinn already liked Jalen, was playing him, but he was not playing 30 minutes.
They were not. Yeah, and it wasn't. He wasn't asked to be like the fulcrum of the offense when Trae goes off the bench like he is right now. So, yeah.
Well, and he has to be, and that's later in this conversation I'll probably ask you about like what they might do with the roster, but in the meantime, the reality is Jalen is the primary creator on the second unit. Whether he's not playing point guard, but he's the guy with the ball in his hands most of the time, and that's fine. That's the way it should be. Second best player, star upside, all those things. But this is a weird way to ask this, but how much do you actually buy into like this being a big developmental thing for the Hawks? Because they all said it. They all, it's, you don't want to overstate it. And the NBA Cup's still weird. It's year 2 of this. You don't want to overstate it. But Quinn buys in, and I think that filters down to the team. They wanted to win it. I mean, of course, you guys want to win, but they were invested in the Cup. They wanted to get there. These guys were playing. I would describe it as playoff level basketball. Like it was a weird environment having been there in the semis. It's an afternoon game. It's not packed in this. I get it, but it's also like it's playoff lighting. That's a weird thing to say, but like it looks different in there. There's the red carpet. It's like it's a playoff game. They're treating it like a playoff game. Everybody is. And what do you mean? I mean, I think for a young team, and this is still outside of Clinton Bogey and Larry Nance, who wouldn't even play anyway. It's a very young team still. And I think that's, for me, it's definitely good. I just don't know how important it is, if that makes sense. I don't want to overstate it. I think it's useful at the very least.
I think it was, like I said, it was useful for these guys to understand that during the regular season, now that the regular season is back in focus,
back on, yeah.
It's important that these guys take more 3-pointers, in general, because you saw it when the pressure was on. They all refused to take, like Dyson in particular, just absolutely refused to take a jump shot. And
he took the one that he had to take that was so wide open. But yeah, I think what were they taking the game? 20. Was it 24
they took
attempts?
24 attempts. Yeah, and all of them came.
That's just not enough, man. I'm sorry. That's not enough threes.
Yeah, and it's like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, even if it's worse offense and you're not making, you gotta take the shot so you get comfortable. Like at some point you get in a groove, you get comfortable, you find out where your spot is on the floor, where you're like, I'm automatic here, so that you have something you can go back towards when the game, in the playoff setting, where it's like, okay, I have to make this shot. I don't even have to think about it. There's no pressure on me because I can make it. I just think that's probably my bigger takeaway, where it's like Reese Shea, Dyson, and Jalen, all three of these guys just have to be more comfortable taking threes when they're there in the regular season. Is probably one of my takeaways. The other is, I know Kobe Buffkin didn't play these last 2 games, but I think he was missed. Granted, defensively, I think it was more a defensive scheme thing where they wanted to switch Okongwu onto Jalen Brunson and Dame Lillard. While those two are in the game, they want to just be switchy and like not concede anything. Whereas Kobe is just going to replace Dyson and just being the Dyson Daniels role. I do think they missed Kobe Buffkin's like organization, shot creation ability as well, like just in the half court in particular, because it just wasn't up to par for what a good team needs when their star goes on the bench. And like Kobe Buffkin, like if you look at this roster, it's Trae, it's Brogy, it's DeAndre. That's it for shot creator. Like guys who can who can create a shot for themselves and like be comfortable taking a shot. And then there's Kobe. Kobe can do it. Now he hasn't made any of them, but he can do it. He has the talent and the ability to do so. So I would suspect that Kobe's going to start playing some more again. I think this was a temporary thing where Quinn was like, I want the defensive beat. We're going all in on this tournament. Like Quinn's probably doing this calculus because I was noting this. Kobe was playing fine, but he wasn't taking any threes. And I think Quinn was like, I'm already playing Dyson, Reese Shea, Jalen, these guys who have the ball in their hands, who don't take pull-up 3-pointers. I cannot throw out another guy who has the same profile, offensive profile of I'm going to drive. I'm like, I need shooters who are will or like Vit Krejci will shoot the ball, like, and even make or miss, Vit will shoot it. He'll shoot it from 27 feet on a spot up shot. Like, Kobe's not doing that. Kobe's not creating shots for himself anywhere on the floor. He's just purely at this moment driving to the rim, trying to get fouled or trying to make a layup, because that's his best offensive skill right now. And respecting him for doing that, but like what the Hawks need, they need shot makers, shot takers, and shot makers. Like, and so if I'm not going to get that either from Kobe or V, I'm going to go with the bigger defensive player, the guy I can trust more defensively just because he's taller. I will say, I think maybe offensively they could have gotten away with playing Garrison Matthews just to juice up. If in this alignment where I'm not playing a traditional backup point guard, where Garrison Matthews functionally comes in for Trae Young, and then I roll out Jalen, Bogey, DeAndre, Garrison Matthews, Okongwu. Maybe I could get away with Garrison Matthews defensively. Like the issue with playing Garrison Matthews, his defense has just not been as good as it was even last year, and it's not. And his defense last year was just like passable barely. Like now it's just like he just has flat out been awful defensively. And this is a defense first team. They're winning games because of their defense. They cannot afford slip ups defensively throughout the game. So, like, there's some small stuff they could have done. Maybe play Bogey more. I think that's probably the biggest one. But with the hamstring, they're probably still trying to monitor it. So it's I think Quinn's options were limited within the cup. But like overall, I just think what they need to take away from this is they do need to take more threes as a team, like just flat out.
Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you do not need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society, and now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth, and these generous benefits are now available only $5 per month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up now at robinhood.com/gold. That's robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risks. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Today's show is brought to you by Rocket Money. Has Rocket Money in the past helped you find any subscriptions that you actually forgot about or that you haven't maybe paid for twice, for instance? It's happened to me in the past. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even want to realize that I was paying for. But Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down at once. It's like having a personal assistant for all of your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps to lower your bills so that you can actually grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals that you actually want to hit this year. They have over 5 million users at Rocket Money. Plus, they've saved a total of $500 million in cancel subscriptions, saved more than $740 a year when using all of their app's premium features. One of my favorites is personally the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services in the past that I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton of money. Plus, with their goals features, I've actually been able to set aside automatically money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on and do it right now today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. One more time, rocketmoney.com/locked-on. One of the questions I was getting a lot of people was about Kobe not playing. And it's been like 2 weeks. I've probably talked about it like 5 times. So it's not like it's a new thing. But I was going to ask you about that. You brought it up. I think it was some combination of what you said and just the Beats just got more experience. And I think that once they got to Vegas, I would have bet my life it wasn't going to be Kobe. Like Kobe hadn't played the previous 2 games. It was like that was a big signal like, hey, Kobe's going to be out of rotation until the end of the cup at least. And I've kind of predicted the same thing. I think it would not surprise me at all if he played 14 minutes on Thursday against the Spurs. I think he might come back in and play right away. We'll see. They could have used him. I thought it was more actually obvious to me in a couple of other games before this that they actually missed Kobe's just ball handling. Like Kobe could actually beat his man off the dribble, which is not a small thing when this team, like you said it, like they don't have a lot of shot creation. And even, Bogey and Hunter are not like beating their guy off the dribble usually. They can do it a little bit, but they're more like shooting over guys or shooting around guys. Kobe's the only guy other than Trae and occasionally Jalen that can like beat their man. And that's not a small thing. Like you collapse the defense. And yeah, Kobe's a flawed player. Like there's a split I've seen with Hawks fans that are like either in on Kobe or super out on Kobe and like, whatever, it's fine. I think he's a rookie still basically in all functional ways, but he does have a skill set that nobody else has other than Trae. And I think they could have used it sometimes, but I also understood completely them not playing him because, I think Veet's a better basketball player than Kobe right now. Is he better at like that one thing? Probably not. But like overall, I could see Quinn looking down and like, hey, I would trust Veet. And by the way, sneakily, I'm sure you noticed this too. They kind of buried Veet.
Yeah,
too.
that's wrong. That's
like he played like 4.5 minutes in the game. Like they went to Dyson at point guard for like 5 minutes, and I thought that might honestly. I was talking to somebody about. I think actually it was Tim Bonstep of ESPN, and I kind of predicted before the game, like, hey, they may go with 8 in this game, like, and just not play anybody but the top 8. And they didn't do that fully, but they kind of did it in the second half. They like a minute and a half.
They basically did, and that was the point where it's like, Veet's just going to get out there to eat some minutes, but like really, we're going with 8 guys just because we have enough. We feel like we have enough ball handling to get away with it. But I do think it's important that Kobe gets back into this rotation.
Me too. You got to play. I know. Our friend Glenn's like the king of this island about like he's got to play. He's got to play. He just does though. Like I understand.
He's got to play. Like the G League is not going to do anything for him.
No, he's already
respect
played there
the G
enough.
League. Like it's not going to do a single thing for him.
There are guys who I think the G League is really helpful for. And last year, I thought it was really helpful for Kobe to play in the G League. Last year, but now that he's done it, like he doesn't need to go back there. I mean, the only way you would do that is if he just hadn't played in so long. Like, okay, let's say Quinn decides he's not ready to play him this week. Maybe you send Kobe to the showcase just to get reps, just to play basketball again. But it's not a developmental thing for him anymore. He's already kind of graduated from that. It's just other than that. I mean, I'm not worried. I just think that it's interesting that he hasn't played. People keep asking about that, and I get it. People not also. I know that not everybody watches every game, and people were turning on the cup like, "Hey, where's Kobe Buffkin?" I get it. It's a little bit weird that they didn't play him after a while, but no big deal. The other thing I wanted to follow up on that you mentioned earlier was the shooting, and this is not anything new to you and I. Like. This summer, we talked about this. They don't have enough shooting, and they still don't have enough shooting. It's not a surprise. It's just the reality of the situation. I pulled the stats, and look, it's not all about 3-point percentage. I'd be the first to say that. But the only player in the rotation shooting more than 34.6% from 3 this year is DeAndre Hunter. Now, Bogey's 35%. Obviously, everyone understands Bogey's a great shooter, so I'm not worried about Bogey at all. And also Trae is at like 32. I'm not worried about Trae either. Like it is what it is. But I'll just run down and I'll let you respond. Jalen 33.5%. Dyson 30%. Ricochet 27%. Okongwu 24%. Veet 24%. And it's not just the percentage. They don't take a lot of them. Bogey does and Trae does. Jalen's taken more of them than I thought people probably expected him to take. He's actually shooting plenty of them in general, even if I agree with your overall point from earlier. But they don't have guys that get guarded out there. Like teams are still leaving Jalen open. And this may never change, honestly, because he's so good at everything else. But teams are still going to let Jalen shoot threes. And Dyson, obviously, is a weakness of his. Everyone knows that. And Ricochet is not getting guarded like he's a real shooter yet. He might be in 2 years. He's not right now. So when you're starting those 3 guys, Trae's in kind of a shooting slump, at least until the Cup semifinal. And then you have either a total non-shooter at center or basically a non-shooter. Okongwu could take a little bit of them, but he's not a shooter still. Man, it's like it's very obvious, but they just don't have a lot of floor spacing, and it makes life hard for Trae. It makes life hard for everybody. It's just the reality.
Yeah, and that's why. And to bring Glenn back up, he talks about truthfully. Like the big move is they just need those guys to start taking more shots and making them. Like ultimately, like they need Ricochet to start taking and making more threes. They need Dyson to start taking and making more threes. I think actually, I agree with you. I think Jalen's 3-point like volume is fine for what he is. It's
It's like it's
fine.
like 4.5 per game right now. That's okay for what he is as a
for
power
what he
forward.
is.
Yeah,
he's a true like big power forward type player. You're not going to get much more from that. I just think overall Dyson and Ricochet in particular just have to, during this regular season, now the regular season is back on, get into a real groove of looking to take 3-pointers, even with their bad shooting percentage. Like they just got to take them.
And Ricochet's taken more than Dyson. Like I know he's not playing as much as Dyson on a permanent basis. He's actually taken I think it's like 8 per 100 possessions. So
yeah, Ricochet's fine. I'm not worried. Look,
he's got to make them. He's got
to make them. But like I just want people to have perspective of stuff. Like,
oh yeah,
when Kevin Durant was a rookie, he shot. I looked it up. He shot like 28% from 3.
Yeah.
Dirk Nowitzki, when he was a rookie, shot 28% from 3. When you're a super skinny, like there are certain levels of when you're super skinny, and it's really easy to knock you off your spot as a ball handler. There's just more pressure on you as a shooter to consistently knock down your open shots. And sometimes you go through lows of them not going in. I'm not worried about Ricochet's jumper. I'm more actually worried about Dyson's, just because Dyson refuses to shoot them. That's where it's like, and it's noticeable where he's just passing up the open 3-pointer. And it's like, bro, you got to just let it fly.
It's been the same whole year.
Brad, you were in the stadium. We heard on the telecast because they had Quinn mic'd up during live action. He's like, Dyson, you just got to shoot it.
I saw him on the rewatch that night after the game. But I'm not kidding you. That's one of the few things that the Hawks are very open about. Quinn doesn't tell us anything. It's just the reality. But he'll be like, especially with Ricochet, and honestly, Ricochet as a rookie and Dyson being Dyson, it is not a secret. They are telling these guys they have to shoot the basketball, whether it goes in or not. And it's even more so when they're playing together. And they're very different. Ricochet is a rookie who they think is going to be a high-level shooter in the future. Dyson may never be a good shooter. That's the reality. He may never be a good shooter. But he can't be out there, and he will kill their offense if he's not willing to take them. And there have been times when he's been willing to take them. And there are nights when, he might go 2 of 10. That's not great, obviously, but you're better off with him going 2 of 10 and getting guarded a little bit more than taking 2 threes in the game. It's a delicate balance, but teams will respect you more if you're taking them. Even if you're missing them, they will respect you more if you're taking them. That's just the reality. There's gravity there.
Yeah, and that goes into the matchup thing where the Bucks, with their elite rim protection, it's just hard for Dyson to consistently, because they kind of use Dyson as like a pseudo big where he's rolling to the rim because he has the matchup. They get the switch, he rolls to the rim, and he's making plays out of that.
He's got Dame on him a lot. He had him the whole game.
Yeah, and the Bucks were taking that away by just parking Brook Lopez in the front of the lane and being like, okay.
And the thing is that they can do that because the Hawks can't make them pay with shooters. And it's not, and I understand people always make that into a center thing. And it would be nice to have the unicorn center that it can shoot and defend. Those guys are hard to find. It's not always about
every time the Hawks lose, somebody's the Hawks got to upgrade at center. And then not somebody. Tom.
No.
Before you get to the name, I'm just gonna say what they're looking for. They're like, we need a center that can make threes and defend at the rim. I'm like, okay. They're like they're not even 8 of those guys in the NBA right now.
No, I literally asked someone. So it was a good. I can't remember who it was on Twitter. Somebody that was not someone that responds to me a lot. So I responded to them very snarkily. I was like, all right, I accept the premise here. How many of these guys are there? And they reply with a list, and I won't name the list right now, but a couple of those guys were just clearly didn't qualify. Like Naz Reid, I'm like, okay, not a defensive center, so cross him off the list. Nick Claxton, not a shooter, cross him off the list. There are different anyway. And then I think the rest of there were 6 or 7 names, and I think 3 of them were Jokic, Embiid, and Anthony Davis. I'm like, okay, cool. Those guys are not attainable. That's
the thing. That's the thing where it's the Hawks center play has been good, and I need people to understand. The only way for the Hawks to upgrade at center is to trade for an MVP caliber basketball player.
At least an all-star level player. Yeah.
I mean, Okay, Brad, they can't trade for Sabonis. They can't trade for Sabonis. Like,
no,
I'm being serious.
There are two examples of guys who I think people think are attainable, right? Who kind of maybe check the boxes. One is Miles Turner, right?
Oh,
Miles Turner can't defend anymore.
Miles Turner
used to be this 4 years ago. He can't defend anymore at that level.
He's also
the other one is the guy that
hold on, Brad. No, Brad, because I got to bury Miles Turner here. Miles Turner, even when he was good, was awful on offense. Like he's just a bad processor of the game. Like flat out, he's not a good offensive player. He makes an occasional open 3-pointer. Yeah. That was it. Like he was passer, horrendous screener. Like also terrible rebound on both sides of the floor. He was. There's a reason why nobody wanted to trade for the man because they didn't want to pay somebody that limited for what he brought, which was, oh, he can make an open 3-pointer and he defends at the rim. I'm like, but he doesn't though, because there's more to defense than just defending at the rim. But okay,
that's the thing with all of these guys. I mean, all of these guys other than the stars is that they're either not a real shooter or they can't really anchor a defense. And for this team, the way they want to build their team, they want a high-level defender at center. They don't want to just get by at center on defense. They want an anchor. Clint Capella, for all of his other faults, is an anchor defensively. He just is. He's really good at it. Like, yeah, would Nikola Vucevic, current version, who's making every shot, help the offense? Yeah, obviously he would. He would hurt the defense quite a lot. Like,
they do not have the personnel to support a Nikola Vucevic. And like very few teams do.
About having Trae, I mean, as much as Trae's improved, you can't get away with Trae and a bad defensive center. You just can't do it. Like people always want Karl-Anthony Towns. Same exact thing. He can't be your anchor defensively. He just can't.
But I do, in defense of Karl Towns on the Hawks potentially, I do think just because he's such an outlier offensive
and
player,
that ship has sailed long ago now, but yeah.
And with what Jalen Johnson can bring potentially on the defensive side of the floor, I think a Dyson Ricochet Jalen triumvirate could have. I think you're right. Could have supported a Trae Young call. Too bad, they could have done it, but
you're right.
That's not happening no more.
And
I mean, we're seeing we see it with the Knicks, like for all their faults, like their defense, especially recently, been fine. It ain't Karl Towns or Jalen Brunson that's the problem with them defensively. There's another guy that they traded 5 first-round picks for. That's giving them problems.
But no, you're right. I think Towns is a different category because he actually is a unicorn level offensive
true outlier. Yeah,
in a way that most guys are not. So anyway, and then there's the DeAndre Ayton thing. I'm just gonna say the name. Let's not do this now. Let's just not do it. That's a different podcast. No, thank you. All right, that is all for part 1 with myself and Tyler. Please subscribe to this podcast anywhere you find your podcasts. We're on Apple and Spotify, as well as Overcast, Amazon Music, etc. Plus, we're on YouTube. Please like the video as you are watching it on that platform. Tell your friends about the show as well. You can find us on social media. We're on Twitter/X at Locked On Hawks. I am there at BT Rowland. I'm also on Blue Sky at BT Rowland. And please check out my non-podcast Hawks coverage at patreon.com/BT Rowland. Stay tuned for part 2. Should be available for you right now. And without any more delay on that, part 2 is available. We'll see you all next time.